If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We have new stories every day. Let's go. I arrived home 15 minutes ago and was surprised that my wife Molly wasn't home yet. She often stayed late at work a few times a week, but usually she would still get home before me and have dinner ready by the time I walked through the door. I grabbed a beer and was about to call her about dinner plans when she beat me to it. My cell phone rang. "Dear, are you still at work?" "Yes, Jack, but we're leaving now." "I'll be home in 20 minutes. Should I start dinner or run out and buy something?" "No, Jack. We won't have time for that tonight. Maybe later, but remember, I love you and only you. I can't wait to see you. I love you too. We'll be waiting for you with open arms." 20 minutes later, my wife Molly entered. I immediately noticed that she looked a bit. Molly was dressed in wrinkled clothes. Her stockings were gone and her makeup and hair were a bit messy. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We have new stories every day. Let's go. I arrived home 15 minutes ago and was surprised that my wife Molly wasn't home yet. She often stayed late at work a few times a week, but usually she would still get home before me and have dinner ready by the time I walked through the door. I grabbed a beer and was about to call her about dinner plans when she beat me to it. My cell phone rang. "Dear, are you still at work?" "Yes, Jack, but we're leaving now. I'll be home in 20 minutes. Should I start dinner or run out and buy something?" "No, Jack. We won't have time for that tonight. Maybe later, but remember, I love you and only you. I can't wait to see you. I love you too. We'll be waiting for you with open arms." 20 minutes later, my wife Molly entered. I immediately noticed that she looked a bit. Molly was dressed in wrinkled clothes, her stockings were gone, and her makeup and hair were a bit messy. She looked like she'd had a tough day. "What happened, Molly?" "Molly, I might not kill for you, but I do almost everything else. So, what happened?" "I'm really interested to hear what kind of awkward situation you got yourself into this time." "Nothing like that, Jack. Just let me finish and then you can ask me questions. You know how you usually let me make almost all of our decisions. You're so kind and loving. Jack, you've let me do almost anything I want over the past few weeks. I've been talking to my boss, Ralph, about our relationship, and he has some ideas that seem sensible to me. He made me read several stories about submissive men who enjoy when their women dominate, and how it really helps their relationships. I must admit, Jack, those stories were very erotic and really stirred my imagination. They were pretty steamy and really got my imagination going. Molly, yes, I'm kind to you and let you make your own decisions about things that don't affect our lives or are not critical. But if you remember, in matters like which house we buy, which cars we purchase, how we invest our money in major financial decisions, I'm the one who decides. I do admit that I enjoy letting you make decisions about things that are important to you and make you happy, such as vacations, movies to watch, restaurants to go to, and even what clothes I should wear. But I don't think that makes me submissive. I just love you and want you to be happy. My dad told me that the secret to a happy and stress-free life is to let your partner make decisions that affect them. A free marriage is not about worrying about the little things. He then reminded me that almost everything is a little thing, and that life should be lived as positively and happily as possible. I agree, Jack, but I still think my boss was right when I compared you to him. He is assertive, powerful, and takes what he wants. People bow to his strong personality and do what he decides, not the other way around. He explained to me that he is an alpha male dominant and at the top of the hierarchy. People like you, although loving and kind, are more submissive and enjoy being dominated. They might not know it, but they have that quality, and it's waiting to come out. I think that's some third-rate pop psychology nonsense, and I completely disagree, but what are you getting at when I said this? I saw a hint of guilt, and the confidence with which she was speaking began to fade a bit. Jack, my boss told me he's going to take control in the bedroom and show me love in a way I've never experienced. He has a strong sense of self, and he's not afraid to use it. He's been making me feel it in his office for the past few weeks, and I have to admit, it's intense. I know it was wrong, and I probably crossed a line that it's not something a married woman should get involved with. But it really excited me, and I've been fantasizing about him for the past few weeks, imagining him seducing me in the office. He told me that you might actually enjoy knowing I'm with him, that you being submissive might even want to watch, and even if not, we had the most incredible sex of our lives when I came back to you after having dirty sex with him. I looked at her, expecting some kind of joke, but suddenly realized she was serious. She told me she had really felt him, and who knows what else. What the hell, Molly? You must be joking. How could you think I'm fine with this, Jack? I know you love me and want me to be happy. I'm sure this will take our love and sex life to a new level. Molly, did you have sex with your boss? What were you thinking? Oh no, Jack, I would never cheat on you. You already did this. You've had intimate conversations with Ralph and you told me you touched him. Did he get physical with you? She lowered her eyes and, unable to look at me, said, No, Jack, not yet. He did touch me inappropriately in the car on the way here. And he's waiting in the driveway so we can discuss this. Then he's going to come up to our bedroom and we'll be together. You can watch if you want. Ralph would enjoy that, but if not, when we're done, you can come and get me and I'll have a surprise for you. He's going to let him do anything you've ever dreamed of. Are you kidding me? He's outside right now and you believe his nonsense. The thought of being with you after you've been with him makes me want to vomit. What now, Molly? I'm saying no and demanding that you send him away. Don't let me hold you back, Molly. I see that you'll do this regardless of what I say. If not now, then soon, maybe even without telling me. Anyway, you've already been unfaithful, so go upstairs and get ready. She looked shocked and guilty at my statement, but then she turned to leave. On the stairs, she turned back and said, You'll see, Jack. It's going to be epic. Yes, Molly, it will be epic. You have the right to do this after. She went upstairs, so I rummaged through her handbag and took her car keys, house keys, and phone from her wallet. I took our joint credit card and went to the kitchen to grab a kitchen towel from the linen drawer and some zip ties from the tool drawer. I also grabbed a very large carving knife and I went outside to meet Ralph. He was sitting in his car, reading his phone. When I got there, he lowered the driver's window and said, All right, Jack, I guess your wife told you. Don't worry. I'll still let her have sex with you, at least for now, until she's completely under my control. I didn't let him finish his last statement. I punched him square in the nose with the angriest, most vicious left hook I could muster. I handed him the kitchen towel and said, Here, you might need this. He quickly brought it to his nose, so I wrapped the zip tie around his left wrist, pulled it up, looped it around the headrest, and tightened it securely. Then I opened the car door and delivered another left hook, this time aiming for his supposed big size. He doubled over in the seat, curling up. I took the opportunity to zip tie his right hand to the steering wheel while he was in a vulnerable position, with his left wrist tied to the headrest and his right hand grabbing the steering wheel. I leaned into his face and said, So the big, strong, dominant alpha male has issues with self. Your assertion is misguided. You have misjudged this situation and will learn from your mistakes. Unfortunately for you, Molly is expecting something epic, so let's give it to her. I picked up a water hose that was lying in the grass. Attached to it was a perfectly fitting. I grabbed a steel spray nozzle and swung it, shattering the side window into a mass of shards that scattered across the seat and floor of the car. I then went to the front of the car and struck the windshield, filling it with cracks and dents as if the car had been hit by a golf ball. I also smashed the headlights, which gave me immense satisfaction. I returned to the driver's window and laughing said, I think you might need to do some work on your car. Then I pulled the knife from my back pocket, quickly leaned into the car and pressed the knife to his neck in my most menacing voice. I hissed, How many times have you slept with my wife, trying to convince her that I would let this happen? I saw the fear in his eyes. As he only stammered twice in the last few weeks, it meant nothing. It was just sex for both her and me. Just let me go and you'll never see me again. I looked at him as if he were some pathetic form of scum. I'm not going to kill you, at least not right now. But if I hear anything from the police or if I have any other problems regarding our little conversation today, then I will come back to find you. If you go to the police, I might go to jail. I might get out on bail. I might serve some time. I might not. At some point in your future, I will find you. Maybe in a parking lot on your way to your car. Maybe in an elevator at work. I will find you, slit your throat and spit in your face while I watch you die. It's up to you. This could be the last time you see me, or you can keep looking over your shoulder for the next week, month, or year until it's over. I ended it with these words. I leaned over him, stabbed the knife into the passenger seat, and said, Your lover Molly will need this to free you so you can get rid of her, or maybe she'll take you to the emergency room. Whatever. Just make sure you get her out of my sight. I went into the house, and when Molly heard the front door close, she called from the bedroom. I heard Molly calling from the bedroom. She said, Ralph, come and take me. I thought, what an incredible fool this woman is. I replied, Molly, Ralph is in the car. He wants you to go out and talk to him. It seems he might have changed his mind. Jack, did you reassure him that everything was okay? Molly, I told him that his future depends on his actions. You should probably go out and talk to him. I locked it behind her immediately. I went to the garage, pressed the button to open the garage door. And as I headed upstairs, I heard her shouting. I ignored her words and went up to the bedroom, where I pulled out one of our suitcases. I grabbed clothes from her drawers, including lingerie, bras, and socks, and took some t-shirts. I took some shirts, jeans, and sweaters from her closet and put them in the suitcase. Then I went to the bathroom and threw in as much of her makeup and other stuff as I could fit. I returned to the closet and grabbed a pair of her tennis shoes. I went to the guest bedroom at the front of the house, opened the window, and shouted, "Molly, over here, you might need this." I threw the suitcase onto the driveway. Some perfume bottles might have broken, but it didn't matter. It wasn't my problem. Then I threw the tennis shoes, aiming for her head. But Jack, please, what are you doing? I thought this was what you wanted. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you or hurt you. I can't believe how cruel and vicious you were to Ralph. For God's sake, he's my boss. Please, Jack, let me in and we can discuss. Molly, I can't even begin to tell you how ridiculous you've sounded since you came home with your little scheme to turn me into your puppet. I wonder if you've had a stroke, or if you're on drugs, or maybe I just never knew how shallow and you're pathetic, and it doesn't matter right now. I want you to leave. Take your lover to the hospital, but on the way, ask him what will happen if I hear even one word about today's events from the police or anyone else. I will pack the rest of your things in bags and you can tell me where to leave them. But never come back to this house again with those words. At least I hit her in the chest before slamming the door shut. I couldn't resist adding, "Is that enough for you, Molly?" I locked the door and went to the kitchen to open my second beer of the day. I realized that I needed to talk to my lawyer immediately in case the police got involved. I also thought a good divorce attorney. I went to the front window and saw Ralph shouting and cursing at Molly as she cut the zip ties. She put her suitcase in the trunk. He got out, moved to the back seat, and lay down while she got into the car and was crying, looking like she was in shock as she reversed and drove away from the driveway. As the adrenaline in my system subsided and I began to relax, I was utterly shocked by what had happened and how my wife had gone so far off the rails. I was amazed and a little scared by what I'd done to my boss in a fit of rage. I'd been close to slitting his throat. Now I realized he simply wasn't worth it. I laughed when I thought about the nonsense he'd fed her, claiming he was an alpha and I was a beta. He was a nice guy, and let my wife make the final decisions because I wanted a happy life and marriage. She completely misunderstood my kindness, though, thinking I was a beta who would let her cockle me with a jerk like Ralph. I didn't see that coming at all. For the next few days, Molly stayed away from home. I kept getting calls from unknown numbers, so I assumed it was Molly since I had taken her phone. Finally, she left a voicemail. She was begging me to call her back at that number so we could discuss everything. I knew it was only a matter of time before I had to face her. Since the police hadn't shown up to arrest me, I thought I had dodged a bullet and now needed to finish this business. I called Molly and told her to come over in an hour so we could talk. I hung up, finished packing everything in the house that I thought belonged to her, and sat on the porch waiting for her. Molly pulled up in her car, which she had obviously picked up from work. I didn't. I didn't know if she'd been staying with Ralph, her parents' friends, or in a motel. I was a bit surprised at myself for not really caring where she'd been. She got out of the car and waved hesitantly before approaching and sitting next to me on the porch steps. Her face showed a range of emotions, including some fear, shame, guilt, and apprehension. Her face looked swollen and blotchy, indicating that she'd been crying a lot and sleeping very little. She looked at me shyly and said, "Jack, I'm so sorry for what I did. I don't know. I really let myself get convinced by Ralph to suggest that I have sex with him, assuming that you're submissive and would enjoy it. I've been reflecting on the past few weeks and can't understand how I fell for all that nonsense. I suppose it was his dominance and insistence. He told me it would be so good for us and that I'd have the best sex of my life with him and with you. I know it sounds crazy, but I was going through a rough patch. I'm back now, and I love you and want only you. I'm sorry for what I did, and I beg you to forgive me. I promise to be the best wife you could ever have and spend my life making it up to you." Molly, how was Ralph in bed? Did you have the fantastic moments you dreamed of? What about his massive tool? Jack, after that night, I never touched him again. He's so scared of what you said that he fired me. He doesn't want to come near me. Besides, he spent 2 nights in a hospital after what you did to him. He made up a story about a robbery. And we both stuck to that story so you wouldn't get into trouble. Well, at least he did that. Right, Molly, Jack, I want you to know that I'm sorry. I want to come back home and be your wife for the rest of our lives. I want you to forgive me. I'll do anything to make it up to you. We can get through this and be better than ever. Jack, I've realized that you're the only one I could ever love. I need you to forgive me. What do you say? Jack, can I please come back home? Molly, I thought a lot about this and here's what I've decided. We were in love for 2 years and married for 3. Now, after just 5 years, you obviously don't love me anymore. You might think you love me, but I'm not so sure. You seem to be looking for something more. You might think you respect me, but I'm not so sure. You would never have thought of me as some submissive beta male who would willingly let you sleep with your boss and then clean up after him if you had any real idea of what love or respect is. Besides, you did cheat on me. Ralph said you had sex with him at least a few times over the past few weeks while he was convincing you of this alpha-beta nonsense. Your lust outweighs the vows, the promises you made to me, and that's after just 5 years. What will happen in 7, 10, 15, or 20 years? How many times will you get bored and break those vows? Jack, I will never do that to you again. You already did it, Molly, so don't say never. I've thought a lot about this. We don't have kids, we don't have much savings, and our only real asset is the house, which is very little equity. I've decided, Molly, that the risk of staying with you is much greater than any benefit. I'm convinced it's only a matter of time before you justify another. You're doing this to yourself. You've already had the regrettable experience with Ralph. Next time, you'll just do it behind my back. I don't longer trust you, and worse, I've lost respect for you. I can't be with someone who doesn't respect me, and I don't respect you anymore, Molly. I explained my decision and she started crying. I told her we were getting a divorce. She can keep her car and I'll keep mine. We can split our savings and sell a house. We're both still young, and I hope to start over with someone who I want you to love and respect me for who I am. I've already hired a divorce lawyer, so we can do this amicably. You can hire your own lawyer if you want. Let's load your things into the car, and you can leave. You can love as many alpha males with big sizes as you wish. I'll start moving. We're putting the house on the market next week. Jack, I know I messed up. I was wrong to cheat on you. I love you and I respect you. I was just drawn into it. I hope you can forgive me. Let's move on with our lives. If we cross paths in the future, we can just say hello and keep walking. I hope you find what you need. I started loading her things into the car. When we were done, I just looked at him and said goodbye. He went into the house and closed the door on our marriage. Thanks to everyone who listened to today's stories. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing. If you haven't already, feel free to share your thoughts on the events in the comments below. Take care.